Hello CKT fans, welcome to our YouTube channel Chikatina Hairs. So today we decided to do a very quick recap as regards hair education, what we have learned so far, starting from the identification of human hairs and maybe the categories of hairs, the human hairs, the HTFs, the blends, the synthetics and all that, right? Then we moved to coloring. From coloring, we tested the human hairs. From testing the human hairs, we were able to even know what the burning tests were. We also checked what maybe checking the hair quality under a light source. We also discussed about how we can identify human hairs through feelings. If you are lost in any of this I just said, please do well to check somewhere around this video, the previous video, so that you can catch up. So now what we just want to do today is to do a summary of all what we have learned so far, because after this, I guess we might not be able to go back to hair education. Rather, maybe we might advance to a higher grade if need be, so that it will be easier for us whenever I come up with any hair quality and there are some terminologies I will use, none of you will be lost. I hope we all follow you. Do well also to comment and ask your question if you are lost along the line. So now, when we talk about human hairs, we've already known that human hairs also comprises of either Remy or non-Remy hairs. That same human hairs, they can be super double drawn, they can be virgin hair, they can be double draws, they can be single draws, right? They can also be high temperature fiber, they can be synthetic, the plain ones, which are the rubber-like ones, right? We also discussed about the coloring in human hairs. And when you talk about coloring in human hairs, the color of a human hair and the color of a blend fiber are really same, but not all that same color in terms of shade. Talking about the colors, when you are talking about a natural color in human hair, be it double drawn, single drawn, or whatever, so far is a human hair, it tends to be a little difference. I think the shade, despite the fact that maybe the color codings might be same, right? If the color is even written in terms of wordings or in terms of figure, for instance, color 30, right? In terms of figure, it's color 30. But when you want to ascend maybe into giving it a wording name, right, in terms of wording, becomes gold. Some people also call it chestnut. It all depends on the shade or how the hair itself appeared in terms of shade. This is a natural color under human hair. We are not talking about whether it's double drawn or super double drawn, but we're just particularly interested in the color. This is a natural color. So by the time I want to equate this to maybe a high temperature fiber, or maybe let's say a braid extension, which might be Lush, Darling, Expression, 10 by 10, so many of them. If I get a color 1, it will be darker than this. If I get a color 2, it will still be slightly darker than this. But the only thing that makes natural in human hair similar to maybe a color closer to natural in HTF is usually color 2. So by the time you get your color 2, you can blend your color 2 to this natural hair to fit in. For some of us who usually use, maybe sometimes there are some trending hairs, say there are HTFs, which some people mistakenly call them blend, because blend and HTFs aren't same. Rather, blend is a combination of a human hair and a high protein fiber, and a high protein fiber is HTF. So when they mix, they tend to mix maybe a natural color frontal added with these HTFs or blend, maybe trying to create a star, and it becomes a trending thing. You will see they will hardly use a color 1B or frontal as a human hair, do you understand, on top a color 2. Even if they do that, they have to carefully or meticulously search out for a color which is very close to that blend or to that HTF. What do I mean? Let me digress further. What I meant is this. When you are working with a hair and you want to pair it with a human hair, and you are working with a hair that isn't human hair, close or watch very closely the color that blends. The fact that they wrote under the blend or the synthetic as color 2 or HCF as color 2 does not mean you have to go and look for a human hair that is color 2. If you get a human hair that is color 2, the human hair color 2 might be similar to a synthetic of color 4. So all I'm trying to say is, when you want to, if there should be any need why you should mix maybe a combination of HTF or blend to a human hair base, maybe trying to formulate a particular style, always do well to look at a color. Maybe a human hair might be a 1 tone higher than the HTF, or the HTF will be a 1 tone lesser than the human hair. So at the end of the day, you should be able to get something really uniform. Do you understand? So human hair, natural, And HTF or blend color 2 are similarly blended to maybe give something really uniformized. So that's it. So next is the double drawn, the super double drones. So what I have here is an SDD, right? Is an SDD, and we also have double drones, and we have the one they call single drones. But maybe for demonstration's sake, I'm making do with my super double drone here, and this happens to be a wig. Now this is super double drone. The major difference between super double drone and double drone is still the hair volume, the strands, right? The strands. The more shorter or the more short hairs we have in a hair or in a hair maybe bundle or in a wig as it were, the possibilities that as the hair descends down, it becomes tiny. But taking a closer look at this, you see this hair is full as at where I am holding it. Even down to the tip of the hair, it is still full. Despite the fact that you might see one or two fly-offs there, but at least this is full enough. If this were to be a double drawn, it will not be as full as this from top to bottom. Do you understand? So now talking about single drawn, if this were to also be a single drawn, pardon me that I don't have my double drawn and single drawns here so that I can explain further. But if you check our previous videos, you will have the opportunity to see most of these hair qualities and certain demonstrations we did when the lectures originally took place. But if you are working with your double drawn, you will notice that your double drawn, despite the fact it is full, it is far more fuller than single drawn, but it wouldn't be this full getting to the tip. The more it descends, it will be a little bit smaller than this, right? Till it gets to the bottom. Talking about the single drawn, from this point where I hold it, or I held it rather, as you descend, even from this halfway down or quarter way down, what you have left will be so tiny that you might end up having to trim the tips of the hair to enable them to be equal at the end of the hair, depending on what you want. But there are some people who also enjoy it having these fish tiny tails or maybe feather tips. The next point we want to discuss about are their bases. If you remember on those previous courses, we also discussed about bases. And I once said that when you talk about closure bases, you are not directly or only referring to 4x4, which happens to be the very first thing most of us knew closure to be. When you say bases, closure bases basically means any extra hair accessories that was being attached to the base. So far, you are not making the hair to be fringe, or you are not making it to be an all-round closing pattern, right? So when we talk about the closure bases, we are referring, it could be 4x4, which is the most common of them all. It could be 2x4, which is half of the 4x4, right? It could also be 2x6, which is half of the 4x4, but a deeper part, right? It could also be a frontal, which is ear to ear, 13x4. It could also be frontal, 13x4. It could also be a 13x6, which is a deeper part. So they are both frontal. So have it at the back of your mind that frontal comes with 13x4 or 13x6, just like the way the 𝐂𝐿𝐄 came as either 2x4 or 2x6. Whichever way, have it at the back of your mind that the two we are talking about is the width, right? The width is the first figure that comes in, while the last figure, which happens to be either 4 under the 𝐂𝐿𝐄 or 6, is talking about the depth. Do you understand how deep the slit is? So we've learned that we have the 2x4 or the 2x6 under 𝐂𝐿𝐄, and we also have the 13x4 or the 13x6 under frontal. It can as well be maybe a 5x5. And what I have here, for instance, I have here a 4x4. So it could also be a 5x5, which extends to this extent, right? So an extra inch here, an extra inch there. So which people refer to as mini frontals. So it could be a 5x5, it could also be a 6x6. And these 5x5, 6x6 are generally referred to as mini frontals. Do you understand? And I think finally on what I have on my list, we also have the one they call 360. Then I noticed over the years that people usually mistake this 360 thing. 360 occurs in various patterns. A 360, when a 360 is being mentioned, it means it is an all-round lace, right? It's an all-round lace in such a way that it could be used. It could be used to form a high ponytail. I can't use this now. A high ponytail, a low ponytail, or a medium ponytail. whichever case you want it to be, a 360. Now, one of the challenges people usually have when they make do with 360 is them being unable to differentiate what a full lace is from what a half lace is. So now, when you hear people say 360, 360 means is an all-round closure, right? That you can use in forming the both low ponytail, medium ponytail, and high ponytail, right? And it gives you exactly that, having that natural, hairline feel and all that. But if it's to be a full lace, right? Generally, it is 360. When it has to be ventilated all around, handmade, but the middle of it has to be sewn, machine sewing, or maybe hand weaving, either way, right? But at least it is not full handmade all through. So when they refer it as a 360, you hear 360, it already made you to know that it's an all-round lace wig, right? Then when we now go further to tell you it is a full lace, 360 full lace, it automatically means that all the hair strands were handmade. Do you understand? There is nothing like machine done. Everything around the lace itself were handmade. It's a full handmade. That is when you hear say full lace is handmade. Then when you hear us say half lace, means it is all round and the middle is being sewn. So that's just it. So 360 is equivalent to half lace. Do you understand? Hearing half lace is already telling you that it's an all round, but the middle is being maybe either weft with a machine or hand wefting, right? But if it's a full lace, it is all round ventilated. Okay, let's just use this current trending full lace wig that they use for braiding. You know, everybody call it full lace. So that's the easiest thing you will use in remembering or reminding yourself that a full lace is a full hand ventilated, that you can plait your hair as though the hair grew out from your hair. Why a half lace is a 360, it will just be named a 360 because it's only ventilated all around, right? But the middle has a sewing on it. And when you cannot compare the price of a full lace to the price of a half lace, which is the 360 wig, right? So the full lace, because it is hand ventilated all through, tends to be more expensive, more than the one that has that sewing at the middle of it. I hope I made myself clear. And I think with this, we'll come to the end of our program today, and we look forward to maybe seeing you some other time in continuation of our hair, but it might not necessarily be under hair education. Maybe we have to dive in further in explaining some other things related and associated with hair. Thank you very much and remain blessed. And do not forget to like, share, and comment. See you some other time. Bye.